Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to the Majeffries network on OpenTTD. Now last episode we expanded to the west from Denston, or to the southwest from Denston. Today we are heading the opposite direction. First of all though, we need to build some new platforms at Denston, so you're going to watch me do that here. These platforms might not even be used that often, but it's important to have terminus platforms in both directions. Originally I was going to build the platforms in the northeast corner of Denston, but then I realised you can't actually access those lines from the main running lines, so we've had to go to the northwest corner instead. There are 4 new terminating platforms, 2 of which are 6 tiles long, 1 of which is 5 tiles long and 1 of which is 4 tiles long. Not that important in the grand scheme of things, but it does mean that when we come to put trains in, they'll all have their own separate platforms to run into. I'm not sure what I'm doing at this point. For some reason I just seem to be sitting there. There we go. Now the action started again. I'm not sure what that was about. I think I might have been talking to someone whilst doing the time lapse. Oh, I know what I was doing. Yes. I was looking to see if I could speed the game up a little bit more. So I had a look on Google really quickly to see about changing the cargo dist settings in the main settings screen, see if that would help. To an extent it kind of has. I also had to redo some signalling over here to get the lines in and out, but yeah, essentially the new terminating platforms are a mirrored revolved version of the old terminating platforms, but the lengths are a little bit different. So there are 2 passenger platforms at the far north side with a goods platform in the middle, and then there is an extended platform on the actually the ones at the back of the extended platforms in this case, but there are 2 smaller platforms in front of the big platforms. One is slightly bigger than the other, so it just means that trains can run straight into a platform when they come through from the south. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that is what ends up being the case. This line doesn't really terminate anywhere of significance yet. It does go down to a big station, which itself is now a dead end. The whole point of me building these lines is to try and fix some of the dead ends, and actually not only have I created 1 new one with the end of this current line, I've created 5 new ones, in that there's going to be 4 lines coming from the north into this new big station, and then there's going to be at least 2 coming in from the south. You'll see what I mean once I actually build it. So that's made life a little bit interesting for future episodes. But talking of future episodes, we have got the big naming episode coming up. I still can't confirm an exact time on that right now. And in fact, whilst we're here, I'm going to have a look at the name suggestions, just to see if people are still using it or not. Whilst I'm waiting for that to load, I'm going to tell you about the next couple of episodes. So the comments I got from David Pasquale, and also from, let me just check, David Pasquale, Chris Russell as well I suppose, and also Paul Ryan. They've given me a really big idea to do some special episodes coming up where we just look at the overall network as a whole, find out which cargo's moving where, and find better ways to transport it across the map. And by that I mean, if we're looking at, for an example, GSJ, and we see that there is a particular demand for passengers to go to Denston Carnegie, then we will start introducing new Guard City Great Eastern services between those 2 stations. They might call at other stations along the way, but it becomes pretty obvious at that point that there is a higher demand for passengers along that route, so we need to satisfy the demand. I have a horrible feeling when I actually switch on the cargo flow legend that the game's going to slow right down first and foremost. Not even sure if pausing the game will fix that, because there's so many lines that are going to be generated. I also have a feeling that instead of green lines and yellow lines, it's going to be a solid block of red lines everywhere. Because I will be the first to admit right now that I have not done a good job of managing cargo flow. I've introduced lots of passenger services around, and I've introduced higher capacity services in recent times, especially when you look at the underground and the overground in Guard City. I think the capacity of those trains has increased tenfold, which is a big deal. It means a lot more people can be transported around. But in terms of actually transporting people out of the mainline terminus stations, I haven't really done that much to alleviate that and fix that. So it's going to be interesting looking at the flow legend and seeing exactly what needs to be done. My idea would be that it's going to be really bad and very badly needs working on, but we will see. So that's going to be happening over the next couple of episodes, and then the naming episode will probably come after that. And I'm looking at some of the name suggestions. I'm liking some of these. There have been some new ones. One of which is Top Shed, which I really like. For those of you that don't know what Top Shed is, it was the name of the engine shed, particularly the steam shed at King's Cross. So engines like Mallard, Flying Scotsman, Sir Nigel Gresley, trying to think of some other ones, Union of South Africa, Dominion of Canada, Dwight D. Eisenhower. They would have all been stationed at Top Shed. It was very famous back in the day. Probably still is quite famous actually. Doesn't exist anymore, sadly. It's a victim of the modernisation program, which is a bit sad. What's really sad about it is, despite how many times I've been to King's Cross, I'm still not 100% sure where Top Shed used to be. I know that it's not level with... Actually, it might be. I think it's between Canal Tunnel and Gasworks Tunnel. I believe it was on the west side, so where the Thameslink connection now is, I believe that's where Top Shed used to be. I'm not 100% sure. Someone will correct me. They always do. So that's with the station name suggestions. In terms of the town names, Smeg is one of them, a Red Dwarf reference. I don't really watch Red Dwarf, but I still know what that means. It's quite funny, really. The main suggestions really are coming from BNSF and Gert. I mean, these guys are very creative when it comes to naming suggestions. And it's a big block that is just those two. So huge thanks to them. There's a lot on here that I'm going to use, actually. I'm liking these names. Did I just read that right? I read that wrong. I thought it said Cowboys Place for a second. That's not what it says at all. Airports, bit lacking, unfortunately. Shipyards, lacking. Regions, there's a few regions. We are going to start doing regions as well, actually. We are going to start regionalising the area, because that's going to help with the route names too. And speaking of route names, there are actually some. Again, it's BNSF who's chucking in the heritage ideas. Blue Lagoon Dinner Train, which sounds awesome. Service or the line he's put in the notes. I think I'll use that for a service on a line. It'll probably be the Blue Lagoon line, to be fair. Otherwise, you know, it'll be two separate names. So I like that. And the other one is the Atlantic, Pacific and Mogul, which is, it's a very Americanized name, but it does still work. I mean, Pullman. I always thought of Pullman as being a British thing, but I think it's actually an American thing. So that's not a bad thing. You know, we can do that. BNSF has also named the Guard City Taxis route, so we're going to be doing that as well. So that's good. What that means is the naming suggestions will continue for a little while longer, at least. People are using it. That's the main thing. People are using it. We got loads of regions that we can use in the future as well. Plus, I'll be chucking a few of my own suggestions in as well. No guarantee that they'll be chosen, but I think it's only fair that, you know, everyone gets a say. I've kept quiet a lot of the time, so I'm going to put some suggestions of my own in there as well, and just see what the general feedback is. Right, you're watching me now on screen building the big station. I can't actually remember what this station is called. I do have the game open on my other monitor, so let me scroll across. I've still got that right click mouse problem. It's almost like it's on elastic. Like, you'll move it a little ways and then it'll just spring back. And I'm not actually sure if pressing mouse keys is going to affect the recording or not. I suppose we'll find out in a second. This station is called Drentbourne Regal. Regal will probably be changed. I just chose a bog standard official looking name, official sounding name. This station is big. It's got terminating platforms in both directions. It's also got through platforms. staggered, a bit like Denston, so there'll be one and then there'll be another one with a gap in the middle and a running line going through between each platform. That seems to be a design that I'm using more often now for non-terminating main stations. So although there are terminating platforms, the station itself is a through station. I guess it will fit in the same category as stations like Birmingham, New Street and Crewe, where there are terminating platforms, but overall it's considered a junction sort of through station. As you can see, I'm building the platforms here. They are mirrored a little bit, which I wanted to try to avoid, but when it comes to doing the island platform, sometimes it's just easier to use a standard design. And actually, if you go around the country and look, a lot of stations are built to standard designs. It just makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, this station is big. It's going to have a lot of trains flowing through it. As I say, there's 4 routes coming into the station from the north, 2 from the northwest, 2 from the northeast. And there's going to be at least 2 routes coming in from the south, one to the southwest and one to the southeast. There might even be up to 3 or 4 lines coming out of the south as well. It makes sense, you know, there's a lot of traffic that's going to be coming through here, and there's also a lot of platforms that have been built, so it does make a lot of sense to actually build the station to suit the lines, but also build the lines to suit, to suit the stations. This is going to be chaos when it comes to doing the cargo flow. I'm going to get some trains running off camera between all of these new stations, so that when we use the cargo flow in the next episode, which is going to be Friday's episode, it should be better. You know, we should be able to see the whole network. That will include the heritage stations, but we're not going to include those in terms of actually changing what's happening. So like we're not going to add more services on the heritage line, essentially. Right, that just about does it for this episode. You can see I am still building on screen. That does end momentarily. You can see that big station along the way there as well. That's going to be big. That's where most of our cross-country and also express trains are going to stop. The franchise for this line is not going to be Guard City Great Eastern anymore. It's probably going to be something more southern based. Well, I'm not 100% sure yet. What I do know though is this is the end of the episode, guys, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series, drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We still want to get 1,000 subs by the end of the year. It's not looking likely now, but you never know. Besides that, if you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support, and until next time, I will see you soon.